In this video, we're going to look at the sample answer for the part 2 task card we looked at in last week's video. If you haven't already watched that video, well, it might be worth looking at before you look at the full answer that we're doing today. In the last video, we just planned our response for this task card. Of course, it's asking us to describe a website that we bought something from. And of course, we went through those 4 cues, coming up with an idea for each of those cues, and then also thinking of some extra vocabulary that we could use when we're describing the website that we bought something from and going through those 4 cues in order. Of course, this is not the only way to plan, but this is, I think, probably the most simple way and probably the most effective way to plan an answer for part 2. Now, I'll go through the full answer, just reading it out to you. And of course, as you're listening, think about how I'm kind of using the plan in my answer. And after I've given the full answer, I'll go through the answer each sentence by sentence and kind of explain a little bit about why this would be a very high level response that would get a very high band score. And hopefully this is going to help you to come up with some of your own ideas for this task card and maybe apply some of the vocabulary and grammatical structures that I'm using in my answer to your own answers. So let's just get on with it and look at this full answer. Here we go. A website I recently ordered something on was Amazon. I'm pretty sure that most people have heard of Amazon, but it's a huge online retailer that's one of the biggest companies in the world. The website offers a really convenient way to get things you want delivered in what can sometimes be unbelievable delivery times. I've used Amazon several times over the past few years, and one thing I bought just the other day was a pair of trainers. I ended up getting them online as I was finding them very hard to come by in the shops near to where I live. Some of the shops stocked the running shoes I wanted, but they didn't have the size I was after. So the easiest option I had was to order them on Amazon. The trainers were delivered the day after I made the order, which I was really pleased with. They were dropped off while I was out, but the package was left somewhere safe by the delivery man. At first, I was quite apprehensive because I wasn't sure if they would fit me properly. But I tried them on and they felt perfect, which was a big relief. Of course, I was really impressed with how quickly the trainers arrived. To say it was speedy would be an understatement. On top of this, I found the customer reviews on the website very useful. I'd recently taken up running, and the comments from the more seasoned runners on the trainers were appreciated, even though they just confirmed my thoughts about them. I would say I do feel a slight sense of guilt when buying something from Amazon, as I've heard their staff are taken advantage of. Despite this, it seemed like the best option at the time. Okay. There we go. Well, that's the full answer. You can see that it was, well, definitely a full answer, filling that full 2 minutes of speaking time that you would get in the test. We're also following those 4 cues that you can see in the task card and following the plan that we made in the last video, including all of those ideas and all of that vocabulary we prepared, but of course also adding some extra information and expanding on all of those ideas as much as we can before we move on to the next one. So now you've heard the full answer, what I'm going to do is just go through each of those sentences and just explain just a couple of things that are good that we're doing in each sentence. Maybe some of the vocabulary, maybe pointing out some of the kind of grammar that we're using here that is effective and is going to push the score up. Now, if we look at the first thing I introduced by making a sentence straight away about the website. Here we can see a website I recently ordered something on was Amazon. Very, very simple sentence to begin, but bringing focus to the answer, right? We start straight away by giving the name of the website. There's a nice collocation between the verb order and the preposition on, to order something on a website. That's something that might help to show the examiner you have some awareness of collocation between verbs and prepositions, but nothing too complex there. We move on to the next sentence, and we've said, I'm pretty sure people have heard of Amazon. Okay, so we're describing Amazon and we think, well, most people know about Amazon. We're actually using the present perfect tense here, saying have heard of, which is quite a common phrase to use in this context. And then we move on and explain it a bit more, right? Just because, well, just in case someone hasn't heard of it, or we do need to describe what it is really, because that's our job for part 2 of the IELTS speaking test. So we've said, but it's a huge online retailer. Now, this is a bit of the vocabulary that we had planned in, well, the planning video. But we're using a nice adjective there, huge, meaning really big, but a bit less common than the word big, and then just describing it as an online retailer. A kind of website that sells things online, and also adding that it's one of the biggest companies in the world. A nice use of the superlative biggest there. But again, nothing too complex so far. We're generally using some kind of present tense to describe this website because it exists now. In the next sentence, we've said the website offers a really convenient way to get things you want delivered in what can sometimes be unbelievable delivery times. So again, just describing the website a bit more, giving a bit more detail, just saying what the website does, what it offers. And we're using some nice adjectives there. Convenient, of course, it's a convenient way to order things, and describing the delivery times as unbelievable. They're so fast that sometimes you can't believe that the thing you ordered turns up so quickly. So that's kind of fully answering that first cue, what the website is. So we moved on to the second cue, which was asking about what we bought from the website. So if we look in the next sentence, we introduce that by firstly saying, I've used Amazon several times over the past few years. So again, just sticking with the present perfect here because it's a website you've used before and of course up until now. So I've used Amazon several times over the past few years. So we're using it a lot, but we need to be more specific than that. So we go into a bit more detail. And one thing I bought just the other day, so using the past simple there, bought, not buy. One thing I bought just the other day was a pair of trainers. So again, here we're just moving to use the past tenses now because we're talking about the specific thing that we bought in the past. So the rest of this description focuses on that tense. And if we look at the next sentence, we've said, I ended up getting them online. Now, we've got a phrasal verb there, which is nice idiomatic language, to end up. It's also in the past tense, so we've said ended up. But this means that you finally do something. Maybe it's taken a while to reach that thing that you've done, but finally you've done that thing and you've ended up doing it. So I ended up getting them online. It suggests that it wasn't my kind of first thing that I did. I tried to find them in other ways, but finally I got them online. So I ended up getting them online as I was finding them very hard to come by. Now, this gives the reason afterwards why I went to Amazon to buy them. They were hard to come by. This is a phrase we looked at in the planning video. But of course, if something's hard to come by, well, it means it's difficult to find. But a nice idiomatic phrase there. And it was hard to come by in the shops near to where I live. Then I explain it a little bit more about that situation, about the shops near where I lived. Some of the shops stocked the running shoes I wanted. Again, focusing on the past, stocked with ed on the end. Of course, we've got a bit of topic related language about shops and shopping with the verb stock there, to have some shoes available at that time, to stock the shoes. But they didn't have the size I was after. Of course, still focusing on the past. Here we've got a kind of nice idiomatic phrase to say that I was after the pair of trainers, which means I wanted them, but we can also say to be after something. And then finally, in the last sentence, I've said, so the easiest option I had was to order them on Amazon. So there we go. So that explains why we ordered them online, as well as what we bought online. So we're going into a bit of extra detail there. Even though it didn't ask us for that specifically in the cues, we're just expanding on what we bought and giving it a reason for what we bought online as well. This is often something you can do just to expand your speaking and fill that 2-minute speaking time. So then we move on to the third cue, and that's asking us how satisfied we were with what we bought. Now, of course, we start straight away with the main idea, which was that I was pleased. Now, that was the idea that we had in the notes, and then we expand on that. We've said the trainers were delivered the day after I made the order. Well, here we're using passive voice because someone delivered the trainers, but we've said were delivered. So just the past simple passive there, which again is just quite nice to have this range of grammar. And I made the order. The day after I made the order, nice collocation there, nothing too complex, but of course we make orders, and we're just using the past simple tense there. Made an order, which I was really pleased with. So I was pleased with how quickly they came. Then we move on and say they were dropped off. Well, of course, they is referring to the shoes that I bought. So this is a nice way that you'll notice that we're connecting sentences, often with pronouns. And then passive voice again, they were dropped off. We're trying to avoid repetition maybe of the word deliver. So we've said drop off, and this makes sense in this context. While I was out. Well, of course, while I was out means that I was outside of my home at the time. But the package was left somewhere safe by the delivery man. So there we go. Just explaining that it arrived quickly. I wasn't there, but it was safe and I was pleased with the delivery. But then we describe our feelings in a bit more detail as well. The next sentence, I say, at first I was quite apprehensive. And I say why? Because I wasn't sure if they would fit me properly. Well, we've used a nice adjective there, the word apprehensive, to show that, well, you're really not sure about something that's going to happen in the future. You're a bit worried about something. And then I've explained it afterwards, why I had that feeling. Well, I wasn't sure whether they would fit me or not. And that's why we've got that feeling. It's nice to do this because we're explaining a bit about the feeling to show we understand the adjective we're using. And this is something that's, well, often good to do because it shows you're not just repeating words that you've memorized just because you think they're good. You're actually explaining that you understand what this word means. And then in the next sentence, I've said, but I tried them on and they felt perfect, which was a big relief. So we're using a nice phrasal verb there to try something on. And in this context, well, it means to put the shoes on and to see if they fit. And they felt perfect. Again, notice here we're still focused on the past tenses because all of this happened in the past. Then we say, which was a big relief. Now, if you remember in the notes that we made, in the vocabulary that we wanted to use, we had the adjective relieved. But I thought it would be nice because we've got so many uses of feeling adjectives so far. It'd be nice if we used the noun form. So we've used the word relief there and not relieved, which was a big relief. Now, of course, relief being a countable noun as well, we've got that article So I was feeling kind of relaxed after feeling apprehensive. And we can describe that feeling as a big relief. So some nice use of kind of feeling related vocabulary there, which again is helping with the description and really giving the examiner what they want to hear. Remember, in part 2, this is a description task, so you've got to show them that you're good at describing. Now, we're not finished there because we're moving next to the third cue, which was what we liked or disliked about using this website. And we've got a couple of ideas here. If you remember from the plan, we had something we liked and maybe something that we didn't like or don't like about the website. So we start off with the positives, right? Of course, I was really impressed with how quickly the trainers arrived. To say it was speedy would be an understatement. So a nice phrase there. We're saying that we were impressed. Again, another adjective about feeling. It's always good to make a note of these types of adjectives. And then we use the word we planned, speedy, which is describing the delivery. But of course, we've said that would be an understatement, which basically means, well, it's not descriptive enough for how quick it was. It was even more than speedy. So it was an understatement. It came the day after I ordered it, even though I didn't pay for a 24-hour delivery. It just arrived that quickly. Then I move on and explain a bit more, linking the sentences here, you can see, by saying on top of this referring to, well, I was impressed with the speedy delivery time. I found the customer reviews on the website very useful. So another thing that was good were the customer reviews on the website. They were useful. Notice again, another adjective. Then in the next sentence, I've said, I had recently taken up running. So here we're using a phrasal verb to take up. Now, this just means to start doing an activity. Often that is some kind of hobby. Also, of course, here I'm using past perfect, which is bringing in another tense that I haven't used already, another verb tense to kind of impress the examiner, and also, well, it fits the context. So I'd recently taken up running, and the comments from more seasoned runners on the trainers were appreciated. Now here I've got a nice phrase that might be new to some people, seasoned runners. Now seasoned here does not mean like it means when you're kind of cooking food and you have seasoned food with salt and pepper on it. No, that's not the meaning. Of course, the people running are not seasoned in that way. But seasoned here means they're more experienced. Someone who is more experienced at something, we can say they're seasoned, followed by what they are, a seasoned runner. But these reviews were appreciated, well, by me, and even though they just confirmed my thoughts about them. So they were saying the things that I already thought, but it was good to know that I was thinking the right things about the trainers I bought. So that was something that I found useful. So we've started with the good things, the things I liked, but also we've ended here with something we don't like about the website. And here it says, I would say I do feel a slight sense of guilt when buying something from Amazon. So of course we're moving actually to the present simple tense here because, well, we've already said we often buy things from Amazon, but we have a slight sense of guilt. So slight here means small, and sense of guilt, well, guilt is just the noun form of guilty, to feel guilty about something, but a sense of guilt is a nice idiomatic phrase we can use here. So we're feeling maybe a little bit bad that we're buying something from a website that maybe doesn't really operate as fairly as we would like it to operate. Because we've said, as I've heard, their staff are taken advantage of. So I've heard that their staff are not very well paid and they have to work very long and stressful hours. And again, I've said after that, you see here, despite this, again, linking the sentences, it seemed like the best option at the time. So there we go. That is the full answer. Hopefully there, you can see some things about this answer that will help you with your own answer. You can see it's full of descriptive words, lots of adjectives, lots of words that describe my feelings, and also describing the actual website and the product we ordered from that website. It's sticking to the plan that we made and sticking to the task card that was given to us. So again, if you did find this video useful and the sample answer useful, then do remember to click the like button. And if you haven't already, then remember to subscribe to the channel. But there we go. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you again in the next video.